very briefly, because I don't want to get into my story, because I've told it before on the air, but I was able to, with John DeCamp, we've infiltrated an organized child kidnapping ring in the Midwest, and I personally sent a letter to William Barr when he was Attorney General, told him about that ring. I personally sent a letter to the FBI, told him about this ring. I said, don't come to me and ask me questions about it because it's third hand. Come to me and I'll give you my sources and the names of people who can document this information. And William Barr wrote back and said, my sources are not credible. He didn't know who my sources were. And I was totally ignored, not only by the Mr. William Barr, but also by the FBI. And that's another one of my bones I have to pick with the FBI. So go on with your story. So we have Vice President Bush, we have Ollie North, we have William Barr involved in the drug operations. It's that simple, isn't it?
We have Amiram Nir Mossad, Mike Harari Mossad.
Yeah, we have the Mossad agents also. Well, Mossad and the CIA are basically one and the same, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not one of the. When you think of
I'm exaggerating, Chip.
When you think of the OSG operating realm, yes, we're an international. Our intelligence is now an international intelligence society. It's not just a U.S. intelligence society.
We're talking about OSG operations subgroup, which is the same thing as Pegasus.
That's correct.
And let's go back just a minute. I meant to ask you this. We were talking about training on the first hour. When you went through your training sessions, did you have FBI agents there with you?
Oh yeah, FBI. We went to normal training in. This was in Glencoe. Sure. I also had the opportunity to travel to Israel and do some training in Israel. So we're talking about, how about DEA and ATF? Were they involved in some of this training with you? Not in the training, no.
Uh-huh.
We did support the ATF and DEA in a couple missions that I flew, but that was it.
Did they train you as a professional assassin?
Yes.
Okay, we won't go into details on that. Okay, now, we're talking about Ollie North and Bush, okay, but you do not know how the money flow went, do you?
Well, I know that there were three legs where money was flowing.
Okay, we'll talk about the money when we get back. Ted Gunderson, Intelligence Report, no question about it. And my guest today, Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent for the CIA, that is, of course. Chip, we had a caller that wants to know if you know anything about Colby's death.
No, I was in prison at the time of Colby's death. I had written him a letter about 3 weeks prior to his death, and never received a response from him. Are you
aware of the details of his death?
I'm aware that he died in a canoeing accident. I'm aware that the door of his home was left open and his computer was accessed. You know, I'd flown Bill Colby on several other occasions under the OSG. One thing Colby was always meticulous about was the requirement to wear our water wings whenever we were on overwater flights in single-engine rotary wing aircraft. He was meticulous about us wearing those safety vests, almost to the point that you would think that he had some fear of water. And from what I understand from his wife, he always wore his life vest when he went out canoeing. But he didn't have it on then, did he?
No, he did not. And furthermore, not only was the computer left on and the door was open, but there was a partial meal on the table. And when Colby went out on his canoe or in the boat, he always put his flag up, his mariner's flag up. The flag was not up. And furthermore, he was very meticulous about not going out in his boat when there was a high wind and there was rough waters. And there were rough waters that particular night. He's a good friend, was a good friend of John DeCamp. John DeCamp is a good friend of mine. And I don't know how John feels, but I'm very comfortable in saying that I think that he was murdered, assassinated.
I believe he was neutralized.
Neutralized. You use the word neutralized, I use the word murder. They're both the same when it comes to the CIA operations. He was, I don't know if I can say this is for a fact, but I can tell you what I've been told. After up to 25 years after you served in the CIA, you cannot write a book without the approval of the CIA, without them reviewing it, editing it. And he was 3 months away from that period, and he was writing a book. Is that true, Chip?
That's true from the best of my knowledge, and I had even asked him if he would write the foreword to my book that I was getting ready to produce, or getting ready to publish. I was able to bypass that in a way, getting the approval from them simply because I used my book in my federal trial, and a federal judge can overrule any classification. So.
And we're going to get into your trial probably in the next show, Chip. I don't think we're going to have time now.
Right.
And the way they set you up and sent you off to prison in order to discredit you. So let's talk about your book. Do you have a book coming out, and have you sold it yet, or what?
Well, I have the Tatum Chronicles, which are the flight plans that myself and my air crews documented all of the activities down there.
Have you sold the book yet? Your publisher?
No.
Well, I have a book that I've published. It's How to Locate Anyone Anywhere Without Leaving Home.
Uh-huh.
And it's a good seller. It was published in 1989, and it's still selling. It's in its 10th printing, and I have a good agent. I'll be glad to refer you to my agent if you would like.
Well, that'd be great. This will be my first contact with an agent. I've just been free to do so since the 4th of April. So. Oh,
good. Well, I'll after the show's over, give me a call, or I'll call you. I have to call the station first of all, and we'll discuss something with them, and then I'll give you her name, and you can take it from there.
Hey, Ted, by the way, got a caller. His name is Andy from California.
Andy from California has a call. Andy?
Yeah.
Hi, Andy.
How you doing, man?
Good. Where are you from, California?
Running Springs.
Where in the world is Running Springs?
It's between Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead.
Okay, I know the area, not too far from San Bernardino.
Right.
Andy, you have a question for Chip?
Yeah, Chip. Do you know of any American generals who were complicit in the Iran-Contra affair besides Secord?
I know who signed my orders. It was a U.S. Army general who was the Deputy Director of Intelligence to the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
How about Colin Powell? Was he ever seen or mentioned?
That was the man.
Oh, Colin Powell signed your orders. Okay.
Well, that gives you some hints at a few things, doesn't it, Andy?
That tells me quite a few people knew.
Of course.
All right, thank you much.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for calling in.
All right, bye.
Chip, we were talking about your book. Are you going to expose all in your book, or are there certain things you have to hold back on?
Well, the Tatum Chronicles is just the flight plans and the documents which expose and are sufficient to receive an indictment on several people. The Operation Red Rock, which was our mission in Southeast Asia, I just finished that, as a matter of fact, about 3 days ago. I had written it in prison, and it just finished. It just came back from the typist.
And this is, if you're going to publish everything, then do you still have the advantage of having an insurance policy, so to speak? Or
I'm not going to publish everything.
Okay, and then what's to keep them from doing a 10-7 job on you? 10-7 is lingo for a law enforcement out of service.
Well, while I was in Jessup Federal Prison, I was approached by a person from the NSC and someone from the Federal Bureau of Prisons wanting to know what I had if I would relinquish all this information that I had tucked away, simply because it could do so much harm to certain political figures if I were to be harmed. And I said, well, buddies, my advice to you is keep me safe.
Okay. So in other words, you're going to hold some things back then, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, NSC being National Security Council, that is right out of the White House, folks. We discussed that on the first hour. Chip, I've done the same thing, by the way. I have 12 letters that are in a safety deposit box. If anything happens to me, those 12 letters go to some key people. It gives the head, the leaders of the satanic movement in this country, and it ties into some interesting individuals. And we have to do that in order to stay alive. Come right back, folks. Ted Gunderson, Intelligence Report. And we're back, folks. Guest today is Chip Tatum, 25-year veteran of the CIA. Folks, we are doing a 6-part series, total of 12 hours with Chip. I recognize the significance and the importance of getting him back on the show. He was on the show on the 23rd of April. And these 12 hours on audio will sell for $49.95. In order to obtain a set, call 800-205-6245. And, Chip, let's go back to Colin Powell. You say Colin Powell signed your orders?
As far as being able to move on the military side, someone had to be placed there for us to move in and out of the military, and that's the man who signed the orders.
Move in and out of the military. What does that mean? Military camps and fly airplanes for the military, or what?
Sure. We had to be attached back into the active service. We had to move out of active service.
Oh, I see. In other words, this week you're a civilian, next week you're in the military.
That's correct.
And where was Colin Powell at the time he signed these orders?
Washington, D.C.
And what knowledge did he have of the operations you were involved in?
I have no idea. I just know that he was the man who reported to the Joint Chiefs as far as intelligence, and that's the man that all intelligence efforts went through.
Well, now, how about the intelligence on drug operations?
That's very positive. You know, I don't think, and let me qualify that, the United States military had no direct knowledge of what was going on there.
So you don't think
the United States military even put out a Twix because I was flying those aircraft for the CIA and Pegasus, and they said, hey, there's too many people with their hands in the pie here, too many people flying, or too many missions being flown by these medevac aircraft that are non-medevac missions.
Like with drugs?
Well, that's with something. They knew I was gone a lot. I was flying almost 100 hours a week, which is unheard of.
That's unbelievable. 100 hours a week?
I was ragged. I was.
You must have been dragging your little fanny up and down that on that airplane now.
I was very tired, and you know it's good that we had other crew members that they didn't have to fly so many hours. Many of the missions that we'd fly for Pegasus, I'd leave the crew members aside, and Rodriguez would hop in.
Well, but Powell did receive the intelligence information, passed it on to the Chief of Staff, right?
Powell said, yeah, that's correct, I suppose.
Yeah, and also so in the information furnished in connection with the intelligence information, obviously he was furnished information about the drug operations, wasn't he?
You know, let me say that one thing that's very interesting about Mr. Powell, or General Powell, is during his stay and during the Gulf War, by the end of all that, the Marines were out of bullets. Where'd all the bullets go? Where are all the weapons that were stolen from stores or transferred from stores? Where did they go? Who knew about that?
Powell?
I believe so.
Well,
I believe he and his buddy Bush were heavy into the arms trading business. Well, I know they were because our OSG-1 was the arms trading arm.
Well, I theorize, and I'm 100% confident that I'm right. We did not go in and destroy Baghdad in order for us to rearm them and for them to make millions and millions of more dollars. Am I right or wrong? What do you think?
It's big business.
Well, you know, the arms business is the biggest business in the world.
That's correct.
Money-wise, and in trillions of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars, I don't know about trillions, that and the drugs, that's what makes the world go around. And these dirty politicians like George Bush and Bill Clinton's dirty. I mean, we've got him nailed down in Mena, Arkansas. There's more than one person can say that he had knowledge of the drug operation down there when he was governor.
Well, the arms business is what, and I'll talk about that possibly in a later show, is what caused the death of the Prime Minister of Sweden.
All right, we'll talk about that next show, folks. Tune in. Ted Gunderson.